Hello. Yeah. So. Oh god, how does this work? There's 5 minutes of backlog before? Oh god, I don't know what's going on. So, I realized that I had started streaming. I clicked stream on OBS, but I didn't click it on the YouTube thing. I forgot I had to do that separately. It says I've been live for 6 minutes, and even the YouTube preview is, like, fucked up now, because it's letting me look back in, like, a 5-minute log. I'm guessing that will show up in the VOD, but won't actually be, like, but was not actually, like, seen live. So, so yeah, I played the game for, like, 5 minutes. I was talking, I was reading the text. I figured just no one in chat was talking. Let's try this again. Hi, Daisy. Hi, Anime Kid 100. Hello, everyone else who's here watching the stream or the VOD. Welcome back to more Higurashi. Last time, Rena ended up finding out about Rina's badger scheme to scam her dad out of a bunch of money, and ended up confronting her about it, was attacked, killed her in self-defense. She also ended up killing Teppei, who was part of the same plan. Then, her friends found her trying to hide the body, and they had a tearful, emotional conversation, and that's basically it. Now it's Watanagashi, so let's go ahead and continue our save file. Definitely haven't seen any of this before. This could have been really bad. I could have been going for like a full hour without realizing it. Thankfully, it was only 5 minutes. Okay. She believed that if she kept laughing, that she would be happy. She believed that if she cared about someone, that person would care for her as well. Leaving the sad memories behind, the girl turned forward to face tomorrow. Oh, and I wanted to say, oh no, I'll say it after this because this text goes pretty fast. Without being spoiled, without relying on anyone, all alone, to carve a path toward the future. What awaits her? Is it happiness? Is it unhappiness? Tsumihoroboshi. I wanted to love someone, but the truth is, I wanted to be loved. Okay, so, the reason I set this stream time as, like, 8 is because I wanted to get, you know, at least 3 hours in before I would have to go to sleep. But, I guess I'll just, I'll definitely at least try to close out a chapter, but we'll see. I don't want to go to bed too late, but it might be unavoidable because of... I didn't know what I was doing for dinner. I thought I didn't have anything, so I was considering ordering something, but I don't really like any of the stuff that I can order here. It's not really worth the price. For it's kind of mediocre. So, I ended up just making pasta, and that took me a while. So, apologies for that. But now we're here. Welcome! Would you like a hot dog? Our shaved ice is the best you've ever tasted. You can have it with strawberry syrup, melon syrup, or Hawaiian blue syrup. Trio takoyaki roulette. The winner's packed with a ton of mustard. There are a great many booths at this year's Watanagashi festival. Anything can become a festival if there are vendors selling food and music for bone dances, I thought. It's still June, but it had been extremely hot the past few days, almost as if it's already summer. When you have a June festival with bone dance music under this kind of weather, the only thing that's missing to make it a perfect summer festival is fireworks. This is Kumagai. Oh-san, can you hear me? Over. I heard a voice coming from my portable radio. With this earphone, it looks a little like I'm secretly listening to the horse races while on duty. This is Oishi. I can hear you loud and clear. The town councilors gave us a lot of food. We have oden, yakisoba, pork belly stew, and, some barley tea. Do you mean the barley tea we can drink on duty? Or the one we can't drink on duty? Well... If it's a canned drink, I'll take it. If it's in a cup, don't worry about it. Roger that. And all the members of the town council are here to say hi. We have the mayor, and the head of the Sonozaki family, too. Oh, typo. I didn't notice that the first time. What, that old bag Oreo is there? Can you tell her that I'm patrolling right now and don't know when I'll be back? Well, I don't think I can do that for you, sir. She knows you have a portable radio, so she told me to call you and bring you back here. She looks really mad. Okay, this is the first line I didn't read on the other stream, so there you go. I'm sure it'll be a stroke that kills her. Roger that. Tell her with extreme courtesy that I'll be back soon. Please. Oh well, guess I'll have to go back and mingle with the locals. All of a sudden, a group of kids came running towards me from behind. After a quick look at them, I noticed that they were the granddaughter of the old bag and her friends. They occupied a corner of the shooting gallery stall, making a lot of noise. So you guys can hear the stream, right? Just making sure. Mion Sonozaki. When acting her age, she's a cute, normal girl. But do I ever hate it when she acts like a member of the Sonozaki family. She'll be the boss of the Okonomiya Yakuza territory in 10 or 20 years. Just you wait and see. And while I was thinking things like that, I noticed that Mion wasn't the one taking leadership of her group this time. It was the boy. That boy. I know him. He just moved here recently. And the boy from the Maebara mansion. Keiichi Maebara-kun, was it? I heard that the Maebara family is from the city, and they're supposedly very rich, too. But he doesn't flaunt his family's wealth, and he has a good reputation because of that. Even though he just moved here, he's already adjusted to his new school, and he's popular with his classmates, too. Everyone in the village seems to like him as well. He's very interesting to watch, as a person of many moods. Boys of his age sure have a lot of energy. Ah, to be young again. Hey, you're up next, Rena. You're lucky it's your turn. Rena, are you okay? Are you feeling sick? I'm sorry. I guess I have to pass on taking a shot. Okay, you should take a break for a bit. So, okay, I gotta check. Yeah, seems like the stream's running. Okay. So, that would make it my turn, no? Victory shall be mine! It looked like only 4 of them were having a good time. The girl called Rena seemed outside of that circle of smiles. Her name was Rena Ryugu. What was her real name? I couldn't remember, but I can check when I get back to the station. Rena is only a nickname. I believe she moved here a year before Maebara-kun did. Her mother divorced her father, or something like that. She's a strong girl who does all the housework by herself. She's a very modest girl, I'm told, which is rare in this era. Unlike Maebara-kun, it seemed like she hadn't really opened up to her friends just yet. They looked like a group of 5, but there's distance between her and the others. It's a little sad, you know. Maebara-kun has become a part of the village, but Rena is still by herself. Well, that's just how it looks to me. Oi-san, the chief and the section manager are here. Please come back as soon as possible. Roger that. I can't believe the chief came all the way here just to say hi to the locals. I guess he's very dedicated to community service, huh? Oh, this is Takasugi. Oi-san, can you hear me? Do you copy? Over. Yes, I hear you. I'm on my way back right now. I'll be there in a minute. If I don't hurry up, even the chief might end up calling me. I ran back to the headquarters tent. This is interesting. Oi-san, Dr. Irie is here. Oh, thank you so much for coming. So, what do you think, Dr. Irie? Oishi entered the cordoned-off area. In there, people from forensics were taking pictures of the corpse from various angles. Irie was squatting down next to the dead body of Jiro Tomitake. When he stood up, he looked pale. I can't believe it. I know, I can't believe it either. As far as I can see, he clawed out his throat with his bare hands. This isn't a normal way to go. Most likely it was the cause of some drug or something. Are you saying he was a drug addict? Who knows? I guess it's going to be my job to find that out. Ushi-san. What's with this 2x4? Maybe he was swinging it around? Then he threw it away and had more fun clawing at his throat, I guess. Why was he swinging a piece of lumber around? He probably did it in self-defense. Did you notice there are several external injuries on his body? Yes, I can see some bruises. The easiest explanation I can think of is that he was attacked by someone on his way home to Okinomiya from the festival. He was seized by the culprit, given a shot of some dangerous drug, went crazy, and died. I've never heard of any drug that can make people claw out their throats. I'm not a specialist, but many drug addicts injure themselves when they're in a terminal condition. Well, I'm sure the old man in forensics will take care of the investigation. Excuse me, Oishi-san! We found a bicycle believed to belong to Jiro Tomitake about 100 meters away from here. Oh, that's great. Thanks for the find. Any other clues? Not yet. They're investigating it right now. So that means the place where the bicycle was found is most likely the place he was attacked. And then he ran away from the suspect and ended up here. Oishi frowned, crossing his arms in front of his chest. Irie was looking at the miserable corpse of Tomitake, and he kept saying the same thing over and over. It's impossible. It's just impossible. Doctor, it happened, so it was possible, okay? Take a shot every time Tomitake dies. And try to think flexibly. Although, I get that you don't really see something like this every day, despite being a doctor. Anyway, thanks for your cooperation. You can go home now. We called you here for emergency medical care, but it looks like it was a waste of a trip. Sorry. Oishi stuck his head out of the blue tent and asks, "Can anybody give him a ride home?" Irie gasped all of a sudden as he turned to Oishi. What about Takano-san? What happened to Takano-san? What? Oh, your nurse? I think she was with him. Is she okay? Do you know her phone number? Of course. Kuma-chan! Get her phone number from Dr. Irie and make someone at the station call her house. Understood. Doctor, can I have the number? Yes, here it is. Kumagai got the phone number from Irie, repeated it back, and then dashed away from the blue tarps. Doctor, Takano-san and Tomitake-san were close friends, right? Yes. Have you heard about any troubles between them? No. Not even once. They were very close. Well, I hope she's okay. In the worst case, she could be dead, or she could be the culprit. I see. Nurses have access to dangerous drugs. We don't have anything like that at my clinic. Even if we did, we'd be extra careful with them. There's no way Takano-san could smuggle out a drug from my clinic. But it's easier for nurses to do it than for regular people, right? Like I said, I've never heard of a drug like that, and I don't have anything like that in my clinic. Oi-san, she isn't at home. The standby unit says they're going to go to her house to check. Doctor, can you give me her address? Kuma-chan! Can you also check if the police headquarters has found any unidentified female bodies tonight? Maybe we should check the other prefectures, too. Tell the section manager if he can call the headquarters in the nearby prefectures and ask if they have any unidentified female bodies. Yes, sir! Are you saying that Takano-san might also be dead? Well, I don't know. I don't know if she's dead or if she's the culprit. Of course, it's possible she's not involved at all. She might just be getting drunk in a bar somewhere. It's unbelievable. Who does things like this? Well, it's unbelievable to me too. This fits with the rest of the mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. It's been 5 years now. That would make this the 5th curse of Oyoshiro-sama. Damn it. I've got to get whoever's behind it this year for sure. I really want to put an end to these cases before I retire. Oishi hates the curse of Oyoshiro-sama. It had been leading him around by the nose for 5 consecutive years. The victim of the first year, the manager of the Dam construction site, was his friend. Despite his desire to avenge his friend, the mystery had only deepened, and one case followed another year after year. One case followed another, year after year. Oishi would be retiring next March. As a retiree, he'd be able to ask about the progress of the investigation, but he wouldn't be able to take the initiative anymore. In other words, this year was his last chance for revenge. Would he have to put his head in the lion's mouth to capture the culprit? Oishi quietly clenched his fist. I believe that this maze has an exit. Maze is a very convenient word. A maze always has an exit. You don't call it a maze if it doesn't have one. I know I'm on the right path towards the exit of this maze. I used to miss these minor divergences, but now I don't miss anything. I don't make any mistakes. This time I could feel a response that was different than all the other times. I'm sure I can finally get to the exit of this maze. But no matter which path I choose to come to this point, Jiro Tomitake always dies. Rena had been sick ever since that day, and she hadn't been able to join in on club activities as often since. Yeah, I still feel feverish. You do, huh? That's a pity. Hey, Rena! Why don't you just try and play with us today? I think you'll feel a lot better if you blow off some steam with us. Pardon me. You got this, old man's agreement. Do you think so? Do you? Sometimes, resting too much is bad for you. They're quite correct. All illness comes from the mind, don't you know? Everybody had suspected for a while that Rena isn't really sick, at least physically. It's just that many things happened to her at once. She caught a mental cold. That's why I thought she would get better once she played with us, just like we used to. It seemed like Rena was aware of that too. She knew that she had to get out of her state of depression soon. She wanted to get better, and she wanted to have fun again every day. Okay, I'll do it. Great! That's the spirit. Considering the fact that Rena is still recovering from her illness, let's play a tabletop game today. Let me see. Mion started rummaging through her locker, humming to herself. She took one game after another from the locker and put them aside. That locker definitely didn't obey the laws of physics. The amount of games she took out from the locker was more than what it could physically hold. Oh, I forgot about this one. Let's try this. Today we'll be playing this detective game. Oh, what's that? Sounds interesting. Well, this is a game where you guess the culprit, the murder weapon, and the scene of the crime. It's a game where you use your brain. You'll pick it up as you play. All you need to do is note down the information you have. In other words, you need to learn the trick of note-taking. This is a game for intelligent people like myself. The rules don't seem that difficult. In short, it's a game where you sound out the cards each player holds in order to try and reason out the identity of the cards first drawn out of the deck. There are plenty of games in different formats where you try to identify something hidden in the least number of steps. This one just happens to be a competitive one of those. The key to winning this game would be how well you can organize your information. We usually like to play athletic games so that we can run around a lot, but in our club you have to excel both academically and athletically. Alright, this is gonna be great! Let's play! Rena, do you remember how we still haven't decided the winner of the water gun battle? I'm going to settle it today, once and for all! Oh, are you? I'm gonna turn my volume down because... That's a bit too far. I'm gonna turn my volume down because if it gets loud, then I was already peaking the mic anyway. I don't wanna... Yeah, there you go. This should be better, right? You guys can still hear me over the music? Actually, I'll go up a little bit further. There we go. Then I'm not gonna go easy on you. If Rena's getting serious, I'll have to get serious too. Yes, indeed. Since that water gun battle, I have reevaluated Kate-san and Rena-san. I'm going to be merciless today. This is getting exciting. This old man's been waiting for everyone to get this fired up. Excellent. Let's do this. Are you ready? I did it with a knife in the library. Okay. My turn. Kate-kun did it with poison in the hall. My turn. Mion did it with a pistol in the lounge. You're holding the pistol, aren't you? You're bluffing. I think I know the suspect in the murder weapon. I've narrowed the scene of the crime down to 2. How? You're good, Rika-chan. I narrowed the suspect down to 2, but it's hard to pin down which one it is. I'll give you a tip. There's always a hint in the questions the other players ask you. If you figure it out, you can even solve the whole mystery by the order of the cards the others put down on the table. I see. Damn it. I underestimated the depth of this game. Clue speedrun is only 5 seconds long. Oh no, my notes are such a mess. I can't even read my own handwriting. Once you acquire the skill of note-taking, you'll have a 70% chance to win this game. But even a 70% chance won't be enough to defeat me. I kind of knew I didn't stand a chance of winning this game, but I gradually started picking it up. Rena seemed to be getting her energy back as she played along. It was the right decision to force her to play with us today. While we were in the middle of the game, Chie-sensei came into the classroom. My, you look like you're having fun. Anyway, is Ryugu-san here? How? You have a visitor. Everybody looked puzzled. Parents sometimes showed up at school for some reason, but Chie-sensei never called them visitors. It's rare to have a visitor at school. I wonder who it is. Well, I have to go. You can continue without me. Then I left the classroom at a run. What should we do? Should we wait for her? Well, we don't know how long it's gonna take. Rena told us we could continue. So let's do that. Yeah! Around the entrance, the glaring sun and the cool shade made for a clear contrast. An old man who's holding his jacket on his arm was waiting for me. He looked like he was overheating, and his tie was limp. Are you Ryugu-san? Rena Ryugu-san? Ever since Rina called me Rena, I've hated that name more than ever. Because of that, I didn't have a good first impression of this man. Yes, that's me. May I ask who you are? My car has air conditioning, so why don't we move this into there? Aren't you hot out here? He ignored my question and started walking towards the car parked in front of the school gate. If he wanted to talk about something normal, he would have used the teacher's office. But he wanted to talk in his car instead. I couldn't help but feel suspicious. Chie-sensei let him see me, though. That meant he wasn't a suspicious individual as far as she was concerned. Who was he? I don't bite, you know. Please, this way. He called out to me while opening the rear door. Is he a policeman? Did the police find out that I killed those two? I felt anxious all of a sudden. Was this what they called a voluntary interview? I didn't want to go in that car, but if I rejected his offer, it only made me look suspicious. I prepared myself and got in. It was really cool inside the car. A car AC must cost a fortune. At least my father's car doesn't have one. Please let me know if it's too cold. I like keeping it that way. So what's this talk about? In retaliation, I ignored his question and got to the point like he did. He pulled a small notebook out of his breast pocket and flipped through it. He picked out a photo from it. The photo showed the face of a goofy-looking man. Please tell me if there's anything you know about this person. The man in the picture was expressionless and looked half asleep. Sometimes you can't even recognize your own family members in a photo where they don't have an expression. So there's no way I would recognize a person who wasn't related to me. But anyway, that was a bit of a relief. This had nothing to do with Rina or her partner. There were scribbles on his shirt, and we found the signatures of students at this school, including yours, Ryugu-san. Is this Tomitake-san? I don't feel his usual carefree unreliableness from this picture at all, from this half-awake, emotionless face. How about this woman, then? I knew what he was going to show. Her name is Mio-san. Mio Takano-san. When did you see them last? I think it was right after the Watanagashi festival. Didn't you notice anything strange? Anything? Please tell me. Did something happen to them? Yeah! I got it! To tell you the truth, I wasn't sure if it was Rena or Mion. So you gambled? How risky!
It doesn't matter how he won. What matters is that he won.
Wait, no, she hits you with that AC in his car.
Oh, Rena! Welcome back. What took you so long?
I had to kill Oishi too. No. Mio noticed that Rena had returned. She looked exhausted. I have no idea what she talked about with the visitor, but it was obvious it wasn't something fun.
Rena,
Rena, are you okay?
What? What's okay? What?
I'm talking about you. You look pale. Are you sure you're alright? Rena tried to convince us she was fine, but her face clouded over for a moment, and she decided to leave early. I shouldn't have forced her to join the game. I was regretting it a little. Rena probably forced herself to play with us, even though she wasn't feeling well at all. Rena put her stuff in her bag, apologized to us for leaving early, and left the classroom.
Well, she's gone now. I guess we have to keep playing until we have a loser.
That's right. Whose turn is it?
Me?
Okay, Rika-chan, come on! God, there's a lot of messages.
First of all, I wasn't very close to Mio-san. I knew who she was, so I greeted her whenever we happened to pass by. But that was about it.
Spooky music.
I never really talked to her except for the one time. And that time was only recently. It was between the day of the Watanagashi festival and the day I was caught in the act of burying the 2 corpses by Kichikun and my other friends. I had a phone call from the library that evening, and I was told that my father needed to return the book he borrowed. He was shopping at the home improvement store at the time, so I went to the library to return the book for him. While I was there, I thought about borrowing some books for myself, and I started walking around the library. I saw her there.
Oh, Rena-chan. Hello.
Mio-san! Hello to you too. I didn't expect to see you here.
Really? I was going to say the same thing. I always spend time here and I've never seen you. She smiled in the very attractive and charming way that only mature women can do. Her smile gave no indication that she knew her death was just a few days away. She said that she often met with Tomitake-san at the library. It seemed like she had some time to kill, so she told me she wanted to buy me a drink. I had nothing to do after that. Oh, jeez, pardon me. I let her buy me a canned iced milk tea from the vending machine in the library, and we talked for a while. Once I came to think about it, it was a little ironic. She mostly talked about the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. She had no idea that she was going to be the victim of its 5th year. The series of mysterious deaths? You've heard about it at least once, haven't you? 4 years ago, the manager of the dam construction site was murdered. 3 years ago, the Hojo couple died. 2 years ago, the Hurure couple died. And last year, it was Sadako-chan's aunt. The series of mysterious deaths have been going on for 4 years now. And in a few days, it will be the 5th.
I've heard about it.
But you don't know for sure that somebody will die this year. I do. Someone will die in a few days for sure. Love the fact that the text is changing colors, she goes momentarily unstable. Is that already happening? It still kind of looks like the same pink to me, but maybe it's too subtle for me to tell. I know that it's going to, at least.
I do. Someone will die in a few days for sure. There's that old saying, everything that happens twice will happen a third time. So isn't it also true that what happens 4 times will happen a 5th? Mio-san was convinced that the 5th mysterious death was going to happen, but she didn't know she was going to be the 5th victim. That's ironic, and also really creepy. But there was always something creepy about her, so maybe she knew that she was going to be killed in a few days, but still managed to make that mysterious smile. The series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. Of course, I know about it. I've lived here for more than a year. Every year on the day of the Watanagashi festival, one traitor to the village dies mysteriously. It's been that way since the dam conflict. Each case was solved individually, but mysterious incidents still happen every year. Makes me wonder if there's some kind of will to all this. Looks a bit darker. Okay. The creepiness and incomprehensibility of it all gave rise to the name The Curse of Oyashiro-sama, which fit perfectly. Despite this, I always thought the Curse of Oyashiro-sama was just a series of coincidences. My reason for that is because I strongly believe that Satoshi-kun was the one who murdered his aunt on the 4th year. I guess it does look a bit darker. I don't have any evidence, but I just know it. I know that Satoshi-kun was in a serious predicament last year, and that he had nowhere to turn. He had no one to help him, but he had to save Sadako-chan as soon as he could. Satoshi-kun thought it through and made the best choice he could to handle the situation, just like I did when I had my problem with Rina. I hesitated to inform Mio-san that Satoshi-kun was the murderer on the 4th year, so I just listened to her for a while. According to her theory, the series of the mysterious deaths isn't just a set of coincidences, but is instead a series of interrelated murder cases. At that point, my theory was completely the opposite of hers, but I decided not to cut in. You know about the cult of Oyashiro-sama here in Hinamizawa, don't you? Takano-san started telling me that Hinamizawa was once called Onigafuchi. She also explained how the story of the villagers were in the old days, showing me the scrapbook she was so proud of. The villagers back then were called man-eating demons, but they were also admired as transcendents, enlightened people not bound by earthly desires. So according to your theory, a group of cultists who worship Oyashiro-sama are living in Hinamizawa, and they're trying to show the power of their god by enacting the series of mysterious deaths, right? I'm not sure if we should call them cultists or fundamentalists. The line between them is very vague. In the Meiji era, when the name of the village was changed to Hinamizawa, the customs and the traditions of Onigafuchi were brought to an end. I think there are some people who want to revive those traditions and regain the name and awe of Onigafuchi. Mio-san's theory is more than a little crazy, but it was also fascinating. At first, her theory had sounded like she was just jumping to conclusions, but after she eagerly showed me the documents she'd been studying, I started to think that it wasn't actually too far from the truth. If her theory was true, it would mean that the accidental deaths of the Hojo couple in the 2nd year, the suicide and death by disease of the Furede couple in the 3rd year, and the drug addict murderer in the 4th year are all cooked up. It means someone who has a lot of power and influence over the police was involved. When I pointed that out, Mio-san nodded in agreement, and she started talking about how strongly they were rooted in the village, and how deeply they were involved with many public organizations. After she finished explaining all that, I finally noticed that Mio-san was suggesting that the 3 families, including the Sonozaki family, were the masterminds behind the murder incidents. In fact, the Sonozaki family really is very powerful. They hold influence not only over Hinamizawa and Okinomiya, but also over the entire Shishibone area. It might not be wrong to say that they even hold influence over the entire prefecture. If the Sonozaki family is behind all of this, her theory would be more realistic. But that means I should be suspicious of Mi-chan. No, I shouldn't. But in fact, Mi-chan was very cold and unkind to Satoshi-kun when he was going through a tough time. I know there was conflict between the Sonozaki family and the Hojo family during the dam wars, but still, she was very cold to Satoshi-kun. But Mi-chan admitted that what she did was wrong, and I forgave her too. I didn't want to think about that again. I decided to change the subject because I knew it would make me feel uncomfortable if we kept talking about the Sonozaki family. First of all, what is the people's belief in Oyashiro-sama all about? It's a little funny that demons and humans wanted to coexist. In folktales, humans usually try to wipe out the demons. That's quite true.
That's why Oyashiro-sama is so interesting. However, there are actually many stories that say people in old days worshipped a god and had drifted to our world from the land of the gods. It's the worship of drifted gods, in other words. There are a number of myths all over the world about people worshipping a god who came from beyond the sea or from up a river. The gods in those myths are actually people who came from different countries, right? That's the general theory, yes. Ancient Japanese culture was far behind that of other nations. When Japanese people in those days saw a foreigner from a developed country, they were so impressed by the knowledge the person had that they started worshipping them as a god. That's one theory. I've heard that red oni and blue oni were actually foreigners who drifted ashore in Japan because their boats got shipwrecked. The Japanese may have created tengu out of foreigners too. They probably saw a foreigner who had reddish skin and with a very long nose. Wow, you're pretty sharp, Rena-chan. I agree with you. I think most drifted god worship are based on encounters with foreigners. But if that's so, Onigafuchi's drifted god worship would have a contradiction. Do you know what it is? No, I don't. It's easy. Onigafuchi isn't adjacent to the sea. Oh, of course. In order to have any connection to foreigners, the place in question must also have a connection to the outside world. In Western countries, that connection would be rivers running between adjacent countries. In Japan, that connection would be the ocean. So most of the drifted god stories in Japan originated near the shores. Isn't there a possibility that the foreigner washed ashore somewhere else first and then traveled to Onigafuchi? Well, the thing about the worship of Oyashiro-sama is it specifically pinpoints Onigafuchi Swamp as the place where demons first appeared. The swamp isn't connected to any rivers. So how could a foreigner wash up there? That's why the mystery of Oyashiro-sama is so interesting. How much do you know about the legend of Oyashiro-sama? I just read a picture book about it in school. I feel like I know a lot about it, but I actually don't. I just have an extreme fear of the rule not to leave Hinamizawa. After all, my life went wrong after I left. I felt dizzy when I tried to think about it further, so I stopped. When everything went wrong in Ibaraki, I met Oyashiro-sama, and he told me to go back to Hinamizawa. No, I'll get dizzy. Don't try to remember. Don't try to remember. I can't remember. I got desperate because I felt responsible for the divorce. I just used Oyashiro-sama as an excuse for my mental instability, and I told my father I wanted to go back to Hinamizawa, right? But wait, Oyashiro-sama did come to me. Oh no, the colors are too dazzling. I can only remember the vivid color of the pills and the dizziness. That's all you need to know. The demons came out of Onigafuchi Swamp and they attacked the villagers. Oyashiro-sama saw it and came down to save the villagers from the demons by exiling them to hell. The demons cried, and the villagers felt bad for them. They decided to let the demons live in the village with them. Oyashiro-sama was impressed by the kind hearts of the villagers, so he gave human forms to the demons and let them coexist. The blood of the demons blended with that of the villagers as they lived alongside each other. That's exactly what I read in the book. I felt dizzy, like I was going to faint, because I touched the one memory I didn't want to. People say that most myths are based on an event of some sort that happened long ago. What event do you think is the truth behind this myth? Because I was still feeling dizzy, all I could do was tilt my head quizzically. It seemed like Mio-san was expecting that response,
because she smiled, looking satisfied that she successfully made me confused. She took a scrapbook out of her paper bag. I'll let you borrow this for a while. Thank you. But Don't worry. Just read it whenever you have some time to kill. I want to know what you think about the things written in this scrapbook. I'd like to know, even if you disagree with me, because you really are very sharp. Jiro-san isn't interested in things like this at all, so I appreciate your input. I had little choice but to take the scrapbook. Apparently Mio-san came to the library often, so I figured I could return it to her whenever I came to return my books. However, the day I'd returned the scrapbook to Mio-san never came. What's wrong? You don't look good. Are you feeling okay? I caught a summer cold. I'm still recovering from it. It wasn't the summer cold that was making me feel dizzy. I always get dizzy when I try to remember the time I met Oyashiro-sama in Ibaraki. I mustered all my courage and asked her. My memory of those days in Ibaraki is blurry. I know I met Oyashiro-sama. Nobody believed me, and they told me that it was a hallucination. But I thought Mio-san would listen to me. Mio-san, can I talk to you about something? Yes, of course. You listen to me, so it's my turn to listen to you. Well, it's about Oyashiro-sama. You might laugh at me. I won't. You didn't laugh at me either. Mio-san said it in a very gentle and mature way, and that encouraged me. Even so, I still hesitated to talk, but there was probably nobody but Mio-san with whom I could talk about something like this. I gathered my courage again and spoke. I have met Oyashiro-sama. You have? Yes. I used to live in Hinamizawa until right before I went to elementary school. But my mother got a job in Ibaraki, so we moved. Well, you know what that means, right? Yes, I do. You broke the rule of Oyashiro-sama, which is to never leave Hinamizawa. That's right. And then many things happened. My mother divorced my father, and my family was broken. I got desperate and did some bad things. It must have been terrible. Then what happened? I started hating everything in this world, and I started to feel like everybody who was happy was looking down on me. That's when a mysterious existence started to appear. You mean Oyashiro-sama? The first time it came to me was... please don't tell anybody about this. It was when I started injuring myself by cutting my body with a knife. I cut my neck, and something very dirty and gross came out with the blood from the wound. It was... I'm not going to laugh. Go on. The chill I felt at that time came back to me. I sealed that memory away so that I wouldn't have to remember ever again. But once I unsealed it, I started remembering things one after another. Yes, back then there was something in the blood. Something crawling. It was countless dark red maggots. They scrooned up and out from my neck with each drop of blood. But they wanted to stay in my body, so they crawled back in through the cut. I didn't want those creepy things to get back inside my body, so I clawed at the cut on my neck to get them out. But it hurt so much and it only made my hands and neck bloody. I got scared all of a sudden. I was scared because I thought that there were that many nasty maggots in my blood vessels. So I cut a blood vessel on my thigh just to see how it looked. I thought I could see it better if it was my thigh. Then they oozed out from there too. So many of them. understand, Ryu-san, so please calm down. No, you don't understand! The maggots come out with my blood, but then they try to get back inside my veins. It really, really itches! Ah! Please bring a doctor. No, don't claw at it like that. Bring me a sedative. Hurry! Hold her down! Please kill the maggots in my veins! Please take all the blood out of my body and flush my veins out! There are so many of them in there! Why don't you believe me? I'll show you! You'll believe me if you see them, right? I don't want to get any more shots! No! Calm down. Okay? Mio-san sat next to me and held my hands tightly. Her touch brought me back to reality. So, what happened? Nobody believed me. But then he showed up. Oyashiro-sama came to me. The memory was very vague and I saw flickering lights. It made it difficult for me to remember. I met Oyashiro-sama. That sentence is all I remembered. The memory of actually meeting Oyashiro-sama was unbelievably vague. After I got out of the hospital, I continued being treated at home. I still felt something moving in my veins, so I wanted to cut my body to make the blood ooze out so that I could make sure that there were no maggots in there. Usually I was sleeping like the dead because of the strong pills I was taking, but one day I forgot to take the pill, and my consciousness was very clear. I felt the maggots moving in my veins, and I felt the urge to look inside. I cut a vein on my wrist. I knew it. A lot of blood and many dusky red maggots came out from the wound. I wanted to wash them off before they crawled back inside me, so I put my wrist under running water in the bathroom sink, and I tried to open the vein. You were gone for a moment? What just happened? Rena is talking about the... God, how do I explain this? She was talking about how, she met Oyashiro-sama, and she says the first time Oyashiro-sama came to her was when she used to cut herself. And then she started talking about how when she would do that, she started seeing red maggots crawling out of her veins and then trying to crawl back in. So she would claw at her neck and her other cuts to try to get them to leave, but it just hurt and made her bloody. And then it seemed like she was at the hospital or something, and they were sedating her while she was screaming about the maggots. And then she was having a panic attack and talking to calm her down. And then she's saying that one day she forgot to take her pill. Her memory of meeting Oyashiro-sama is very vague, other than the fact that she knows that she met him. And now we're kind of just going through that memory as well. Water, blood, and maggots ran down into the drain, just like squeezing out the pus from a pimple. I squeezed the vein to get rid of the dirty blood and the maggots. I kept doing it. My arms started to feel numb and I felt cold, but I kept doing it. I thought I might die from losing too much blood, but I kept doing it. My body was filled with maggots. I had to squeeze all my blood out of me. And then, a very bright light shone upon me. It was a very bizarre sensation. I'd never experienced anything like it in my life. All of a sudden, the dark bathroom was filled with a bright light. It was very bright, but gentle. It wasn't like the light from the merciless fluorescent bulb. It was very warm and gentle. That was Oyashiro-sama. Oyashiro-sama was looking at me with gentleness and sadness in his eyes. As he touched my wound, the maggots started melting and disappeared in front of my eyes. That wasn't all. All the maggots that were moving throughout all my veins disappeared too. Oyashiro-sama taught me. These maggots were the curse. People of the demon's blood can't live outside of Hinamizawa. It's the rule. Unfortunately, you've been cursed. It's very sad, and I feel sorry for you. There is only one way to save you. That's what he said. What should I do? The answer was very simple. All I needed to do was to go back to Hinamizawa. I unconsciously knew that before I heard it from Oyashiro-sama. People who were born in Hinamizawa must never leave. But I broke Oyashiro-sama's rules, and I left Hinamizawa. That's why my family was broken, and I lost my mind. If I hadn't left Hinamizawa, nothing would have gone wrong. And so I had to go back. Oyashiro-sama also told me this. He could make the maggots, the embodiment of the curse, disappear, but only temporarily because I lived far from Hinamizawa. After a while, the power of Oyashiro-sama would fade away, and the curse would start eating my body again. If that happens, the maggots would take over my body. and I would go insane and die. I must go back to Hinamizawa before his power to hold down the curse faded away. That's what Oyashiro-sama told me. He did. I heard him tell me that. I should have gone back to Hinamizawa earlier. That's why Oyashiro-sama came to me to put his curse on me. But he gave me a chance. He gave me a chance to pay for my sin of leaving Hinamizawa. Dad, listen. Oyashiro-sama is going to help us. Let's go back to Hinamizawa. Hinamizawa is the place where we must live. If we don't, not only me, but you might be cursed too. Let's go back to Hinamizawa. That's the only place where we can live. We need to hurry. We need to hurry, or Oyashiro-sama's power will fade away, and my body will be eaten by the maggots. Oh no, Oyashiro-sama is following me. He's telling me to hurry. He follows me everywhere and keeps telling me to hurry. He keeps apologizing to me for putting his curse on me. He follows me everywhere and keeps apologizing. I'm telling you the truth. I am. Why can't anybody see it? Why can't they see the maggots or Oyashiro-sama? Everybody's trying to fool me. I know they can see them too. No, no, please stop. I don't want to get another shot. Ah! Are you okay? I was breathing hard, and Mio-san was holding my shoulders. I could feel that the terrible memory I'd been trying to forget was awakening. The doctors told me that the memory was just my delusion. They told me that since I blamed myself for the divorce, I unconsciously had a desire to blame someone else for it, and I unconsciously connected the desire to the folktale that Oyashiro-sama that I read when I was little. I got drug treatment, received counseling, and waited. I gradually got better, and that proved that the things I saw were just a hallucination. The doctors asked my father to consider moving to Hinamizawa if possible. Fortunately, he wanted to change his living environment to heal his pain from the divorce as well. So we came back to Hinamizawa. After we came back to Hinamizawa, I felt it. I felt it in my bones that this was the place we should live. And I also felt Oyashiro-sama's blessing. I definitely felt it. I felt the curse of Oyashiro-sama starting to break. I was free. After I moved here, I went to the clinic in Gogura for a while. The doctor gave me the same poisonous-looking pills, and I kept taking them for a while. The terrible memory gradually became unclear. Whenever I tried to remember it, I could only remember the strong side effect of the pills, and it made me dizzy. That's how I regained my peace. And then I changed my name, Rena. The reason was because my name reminded me of those bad memories. I didn't want to have anything icky in my life anymore. That's why I came up with the idea of taking icky things out. After I took the I of icky out from my name, Rena, there were only Re and Na left. That's how Rena was born. I liked that. When I was introduced to my classmates, I told them to call me Rena. Since then, that had been my name. I'm living my new life as Rena. I cut away all the sad things that happened when I was Rena. My father still calls me Rena, but I don't feel bad as long as it was just my father and my relatives. But then, Rina came into my life one day, and she called me Rena. Because she called me Rena, those colored lights started flickering again. I should stop. I should forget about it. The lights were still flickering. I'm sorry. Was I panicking that badly? You were muttering to yourself. I'm glad you calmed down. Judging by Mio-san's reaction, I wasn't panicking as badly as I thought I was. But I've probably had those panicked hallucinations several times. If I started screaming and yelling like I once did, they'd take me away to a hospital again for sure. I'm certain I met Oyashiro-sama. I saw the maggots. It's hard to believe, right? It's hard to believe, right? Mio-san smiled, looking a little confused. I couldn't blame her. I didn't expect her to believe it. I'm sure it was just a strange memory I created for myself in my hallucinations. I can't believe I can't trust myself. That's the worst feeling of all. Rena-chan? First of all, you don't have to worry about anything. Yes. I'm talking about the curse you're afraid of, and the maggots that you saw in your blood. According to what Oyashiro-sama said, you're free from them as long as you stay in Hinamizawa, right? Yes, that's what he said. Then you don't have to be scared.
安心して。
You don't have to worry about anything.
あなたは今
You're in Hinamizawa right
南沢
now.
にいる。まあ、
Well,
この図書
this
館は
library is in
沖宮だけど、
Okinomiya,
こ
but
の
it's
くらい
very
の
close to
距離なら
Hinamizawa.
お社様
I'm
も
sure it's
許して
okay
く
with
れる。
Oyashiro-sama.
血管の
You
内
don't
側
feel
に
anything moving in your
何
veins
か
right
が
now, do
騒いで
you?
いるなんて感じないでしょ。
それは
No, I don't.
はい。
だから
So
安
there's
心
nothing
して。
to worry about.
あなたは
You're
今
following
お社
Oyashiro-sama's
様の
rules.
戒律をちゃんと守ってる。だから
There's nothing you should be
何
scared
も
of.
恐れなくていいの。だってそうで
Is
しょ。
there?
ね。
Right?
はい。
No,
はい。
no. I didn't know until then that she was such a warm-hearted person. I met many doctors and talked to them about this, but they always ignored me and didn't really listen. All they did was give me a shot of the drug I hated. On the other hand, Mio-san didn't deny my story or the existence of Oyashiro-sama. The people in this village whispered behind her back that she's a little crazy. She was actually a very kind person, I thought.
レナちゃん、
Rena-chan,
私は今
I
の
believe
話
everything you just told
全
me.
部信じるわ。
ありがとうござい
Thank
ま
you
す。
so much.
そう言って
You're
く
the
れた
first
人
one to
は
ever say that to me.
初めてかもです。
それは
So are
私
you?
も同じよ。私
You're the first one who didn't laugh at me and listen to me
いい
so
友達に
seriously.
なれそうね。
I think we can be good friends. Mio-san smiled, touching my head with hers.
なら
Well, let
私
you
の
borrow
秘
my
蔵の
secret
ファイ
files
ル
and
と
my
スクラップも
scrapbooks.
貸してあげるわね。本当に本当
These are
の
top
本
secret.
私以
I
外
didn't
の
want
誰
to
に
show
も見
these
せ
to
る気
anybody,
がな
but
か
you're
ったんだ
special.
けど、
I think I
レ
can
ナ
trust
ちゃん
you.
には特別に読ませてあげてもいい気がするわ。あなたなら
I know you'll take
バ
them
カにしないで
seriously.
ちゃんと読んでくれそうな気がするし。
She took a few scrapbooks out of her paper bag and handed them to me.
ぜひ読んで感想を聞かせてね。
Let me know what you think after you read
ある
them.
いはひょ
There
っ
might
とする
be
と
there
レナ
might
ち
be
ゃんに
something
し
in
かわ
them
か
that
らな
only
い
you
こ
can
となのかも
understand.
しれない。
Mio-san was acting mysteriously. She smiled mischievously and put her index finger on her lips as a sign to keep it a
あ
secret.
とこのスクラップ
Don't tell anybody about these
私が
scrapbooks
そう
or
いう
that
研
I'm
究し
studying
てい
this.
るのは
Okay?
内緒よ。
内緒です
We're
か？
keeping this a secret?
はい。
Okay, I
わ
got
かり
it.
ました。
だって
If they find out that
こ
I've
ん
been
な研
studying
究
this,
を
they
し
might
てい
get
る
rid
の
of
が
me.
連中に知られたら
She laughed after she said that. They might erase her. That's what she said. And she went missing. She left me her scrapbooks. That's not all there is to it. For top secret files, she's surely Charlene's people. It's the way Tomitake-san died. Oishi-san said he committed suicide because of a state of excitation caused by using some kind of drug. But I know what really happened. I didn't tell Oishi-san about it. I don't think he'd have believed me even if I told him. Without a doubt, Tomitake-san died trying to get rid of the maggots. It was nothing other than the curse of Oyashiro-sama. To never leave Hinamizawa isn't the only rule of Oyashiro-sama. There are more. He might have broken one of them without knowing it. Oishi-san told me Tomitake-san was taking pictures with his camera flash on during the sacred ritual dance, and some people got mad at him for it. Did Oyashiro-sama put his curse on Tomitake because he violated the sacred ritual dance? It might be for another reason. Anyway, he died from the curse of Oyashiro-sama without a doubt. Did that mean Oyashiro-sama put his curse on Mio-san too? Investigating the gods is the same as getting close to the gods. It's disrespecting them. But Mio-san told me that they might get rid of her if they found out about our investigation. By they, she meant humans. Plus, according to her theory, the three families are in a conspiracy to revive the faith of Oyashiro-sama. But I can tell by the way Tomitake-san died that it was the act of the curse. I'm certain about that because I experienced the curse myself. And at first glance, that seemed incompatible with those conspiracy theories about human beings. I remember that Oishi-san told me something about some kind of drug that can make a person commit suicide. So do the three families have a secret drug that can cause the curse of Oyashiro-sama? That's impossible. Plus, I didn't get any shots of a suspicious drug like that. I had a normal life in Ibaraki. I wasn't involved with the Sonozaki family or the Kimiyoshi family. Oishi-san asked me a favor. He asked me to tell him secretly if I saw or heard anything suspicious. It could be about Mi-chan, Hidika-chan, or anybody in the village. Mio-san believed my story about Oyashiro-sama. Now she's gone. Tomitake-san died by doing the same thing I did. Oh no, 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 no! I don't want to get involved with the curse of Oyashiro-sama!
Is this a conspiracy of a group of fanatical cult members? Or is it the curse of Oyashiro-sama? Is everything just a set of coincidences? Or maybe it's a mixture of a conspiracy and the curse? I don't know! Is it the work of humans, the curse, or a coincidence? Oh no, even the light of the sunset was making me feel dizzy. When did the sunlight in Hinamizawa get so mean? Mio-san told me to keep her investigation secret. I have her top secret scrapbooks. They might hold the truth about everything. When I realized that, I got scared all of a sudden. I might end up the same way as Mio-san because I have her scrapbooks. If it's a conspiracy, I'll be erased. If it's a curse, I'll be cursed. I should burn the scrapbooks. That's the safest thing to do. But Mio-san believed my story. Mio-san listened to me without laughing. I feel wrong to burn them without taking a look. If it's a conspiracy, I have to expose it. If it's the curse, I have to break it. I shouldn't run away. I should fight. That's right. I decided to fight, to seize my happiness. I shouldn't give in to misfortunes. I have to fight. I'm going to get rid of all the things that are trying to ruin my peaceful life. I'm going to read her scrapbooks when I get home. I started walking faster. New tips unlocked. Lunch takeout list. And achievement unlocked. Icky things. With a picture of some maggots. Attention. Kuroda Mental Clinic. Hello. To get straight to the point, we can assume that this is an acute case of post-traumatic stress disorder. The patient is subject to tremendous stress because of her parents' sudden divorce and being forced to choose to live with either her mother or her father. Furthermore, the patient firmly believes that she was responsible for her parents' divorce, which further drives her to self-mutilation. The patient's largest shock stems from a sense of betrayal of her own household, which she believed was an absolute safe haven. Henceforth, there is a high possibility that the patient will resort to psychological defense measures to protect her family. For example, she might feel high disdain for any person of the opposite sex who approaches her father. She might feel uncomfortable about having other people in her home. She may also display eccentric behavior in order to keep people away from it. As an example of the latter, there are reported cases of patients unconsciously bringing home garbage. It's highly important that the patient remains in close communication with her father. By deepening the communication between the two of them, it will strengthen their family bond and loosen up her anxiety. Since the patient only shows signs of an acute syndrome in this case, there's a very good chance that she'll recover within 3 months with her father's support and proper medication. However, it's common for a patient who seemed to have recovered to have a sudden reoccurrence, a flashback, even after 10 years. Her father is still fairly young, and there's still a chance that he could remarry. However, seeing an unfamiliar member of the opposite sex through remarriage could trigger a flashback in the patient, which may lead to avoidance behavior or hyper-awareness. Please explain this part thoroughly to the father in order for him to understand the recovery process. Should the father decide to remarry, it's recommended that he should hold off in telling the patient until she reaches the age where she's capable of living independently. Also, the cause of the patient's psychosomatic self-mutilating behavior, delusional parasitosis, seems to be its own culture-bound syndrome. The patient blindly believes that leaving her home village will cause a curse, and that this curse was the cause of her parents' divorce. We believe this is a subconscious defense mechanism to reduce her mental trauma by shifting the blame from herself to her village's curse. According to the patient's statement, the culture of her home village is extremely strict and exclusive. The patient believes that there's no way to be saved from the curse other than by going back to the village, as the curse will continue as long as she lives in her current environment. Through this, we see an inclination of schizophrenia, and believe the chances are high that the patient will continue to alter their perceived reality. Schizophrenia, a case where patients' personalities are reduced, causing altered perception of reality and delusions. Her delusion about the maggots dwelling in her blood is a perfect example, and is also the cause of her psychosomatic self-mutilating behavior. When a delusion involves psychosomatic self-mutilating behavior, it's extremely dangerous. I highly recommend for the father to move back to the village if he's financially capable. Allowing her to live with relatives in the village might also work. If such a strong belief can induce symptoms such as self-mutilation, then there might be other cases similar to this one. Perhaps prior medical files that document similar culture-bound syndromes may be available at a large medical institution in her local area. It will then be possible to provide better and more accurate mental care for the patient by obtaining these case files. This B5 size letter was signed with a bunch of memos. The following was on the back side of the letter. 1 chukadon, 3 Shanghai-style gomoku yakisoba, 1 large fried rice. About homing ability and homesickness. If you interpret homing ability in a broad sense, you can say that most animals have a homing ability. It's the same with humans. We like to sleep, rest, and eat at a place where we feel comfortable, namely our homes. Your home is to you what nests are to animals. Therefore, we can say that humans have a homing ability as well. First of all, why do animals need nests? The answer is the same as for humans. Sleeping, resting, and eating are the essential actions for survival. At the same time, those actions leave one defenseless as well. That's why you need a safe area where you can be defenseless. Everybody knows that not having this safe area results in a high level of stress. When you move an animal to a new environment, it naturally becomes stressed. When you force a person to live in a foreign land where they aren't comfortable, they become greatly stressed as well. Everybody also knows that this kind of stress is called homesickness. The Japanese don't know much about homesickness. We defined it as mental weakness, and we neglected to treat it for a long period of time. However, homesickness has a very long history. In Europe's Middle Ages, people believed that it wasn't a mental but rather a physical disease. People also believed that out of everyone, the Swiss got the disease the most. The Swiss, you see, were known to be an ethnic group that worked away from home in that era. They lived far away from their homes. There were no telephones at that time, so they couldn't even hear their families' voices for ages and ages. It's easy to imagine that the young Swiss workers got homesick while working in a strange land. These Swiss who got homesick wanted to go home, but they couldn't because of their jobs. The conflict made them weak physically and mentally. Some of them went crazy and tried to escape from their reality by committing suicide or running away. The Swiss at the time were very superstitious, and many folk remedies and occult-like treatments to prevent homesickness went around. Since going home was the only treatment, they must have called it a fatal disease. But it isn't really one, of course. Specifically, homesickness is a sign of that human homing instinct. Your brain desires to go back to your safe area, namely your home. At first, your brain makes you remember the happy memories of your home, and it urges you to go home in a natural way. But when reason stops you from achieving your desire, your brain starts sending unnatural signals to your body. As a result, your body gets weak, and that makes it more difficult for you to live in a strange land. In the end, you have to bend reason in order to achieve your desire to go home. So homesickness is born from our homing instincts, and the stronger one's homing instinct is, the stronger their homesickness. The strength of that homing instinct varies from individual to individual, and depends on the environment in which those individuals live. When your home is safe and the environment you live in is dangerous, your homing instinct grows stronger. On the other hand, when the environment you live in is safer than your home, your homing instinct becomes very weak. Safety isn't the only element that affects its strength. Cultural aspects affect it too. The many customs demanding families to return home for major events varies with each region, so your birthplace's culture also alters the strength of your homing instinct. Amongst those regions, the transcendents of Onigafuchi village were believed to have an excessively strong homing instinct. The people of Onigafuchi forbade their fellows from ever leaving. Many believed this was the effect of the elitism and sense of purity I already mentioned before. People today still strongly believe that Oyashiro-sama puts his curse on you if you break his rule and abandon the village. This superstition can be interpreted as homesickness. If homesickness is directly proportional to one's homing instinct, then the exaggerated expression, curse, would signify the strength of that homesickness, and also their homing instinct. I can assume that they hated the outside world and created an insular society precisely because of their powerful homing ability. Unfortunately, there's no way to measure the strength of the homing ability that the primitive people of Onigafuchi had. It was so strongly forbidden to leave the village that nobody left long enough to get homesick. However, after the Meiji era, things changed. The sacredness of Onigafuchi dwindled with the efforts of modernization. Many young people started longing for city life, and some people were forced to leave the village to get a job. As a result, villagers started venturing outside the village borders. That was when the transcendents of Onigafuchi realized how strong their homing ability was for the first time. The residents of Hinamizawa got extremely homesick. After a while, people started to call this homesickness the curse of Oyashiro-sama. It became rumored that a person who left the village to get a job in a strange land was cursed, and that he went crazy and died, and people who had left the village started coming back to either it or the nearby town. Their homesickness and their homing ability were very strong because of their culture. It's reasonable to think that these were cultivated by the unique religion in Hinamizawa, namely the cult of Oyashiro-sama. From the moment they were born, they were taught the rules of Oyashiro-sama. They must have felt guilty about leaving the village unconsciously. As a result, they considered their homesickness to be the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I'm not sure if their homesickness got stronger because of the rules of Oyashiro-sama, or if they made the rules of Oyashiro-sama because their homesickness got stronger. I don't know which came first. I got tired of reading such small print and lay down on the floor on my back. The true identity of the curse of Oyashiro-sama is homesickness? Mio-san believed my story and she let me read these scrapbooks. That's why I expected to find something interesting. What it's saying is that the answer to it all is homesickness, which many doctors told me so many times at counseling. I'm a little upset. The word homesickness can't explain the extraordinary experience I had. I saw Oyashiro-sama come down to me from a bright light in the bathroom. I saw the dusky red nasty maggots come out from my blood vessels. The scrapbook doesn't explain any of that. I don't understand how Mio-san was going to explain the cloud of maggots. Maybe she didn't have any explanation of that to begin with. Was it just a delusion? I flipped through one of the other scrapbooks Mio-san let me borrow, looking for an explanation of the maggots I saw. Then I found it. It had the exact title I was looking for. About maggots and the curse of Oyashiro-sama. In the Meiji era, a group of villagers were on their way back to Hinamizawa, and they started discussing a rumor about a weird disease. They said that maggots started crawling out of the wounds of a person who left Hinamizawa, and that the maggots ate the person's body from the inside. The Shinto priest of the Fudede shrine at that time explained that the weird disease was a sign of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. According to that tradition, the Shinto priest showed the villagers an ancient scroll, and he told them that the story of the maggots had been passed down through the ages. This is what the scroll said. The world where the demons came from must be interpreted as the land of death, and the demons in that land of death had to live their lives while being eaten by maggots. The villagers who were of the demon's blood had nothing to worry about as long as they lived in Hinamizawa under the protection of Oyashiro-sama. But once they left Hinamizawa, abandoning their protection, the maggots that had been sleeping in the blood of the demons would start to awaken, and they'd eat their bodies from the inside out. This maggot disease scared the villagers for a while, and they asked the shrine to provide them with protective talismans whenever they had to leave the village on business. This is interesting, as it's similar to the way homesickness was dealt with by the Swiss in the Middle Ages. After the war started, the delusion of the maggot disease faded away, but they remained accustomed to send talismans to families that lived away from Hinamizawa. The talisman had the word maggot on them, but the most interesting part about all this is that the residents of Hinamizawa didn't know about the maggot disease until the rumors began. I'd thought that their unconscious worship made those people think of homesickness as a curse, so this case of the previously unknown maggot disease directly contradicted the research I had done so far. It's natural to think that the group of people who were on their way back to the village were lost in a mass delusion because they strongly believed in the curse, and that the Shinto priest took advantage of their state of panic to instill a deeper faith in them. But I'm not fully convinced that it was merely a coincidence that this mass delusion matched with the story in the old picture scroll. I wonder if it's possible to see maggots in a wound without having the prerequisite knowledge when a person is cursed by Oyashiro-sama. I wish Oyashiro-sama would put his curse on someone I could study. I'd love to see those maggots coming out of someone. I felt as if Mio-san was here and making that request of me. I remember, when she gave me the scrapbooks, she said that I might be the only one who could understand them. Well, actually, that said the only who could understand them, but this one's had a lot of typos in it, this chapter. I felt good for just a moment because I found out that the maggots weren't a delusion, but at the same time it destroyed my excuse that it was a delusion. The maggots weren't a delusion. They were there. All of a sudden, my wrists, elbows, inner thighs, and neck started itching. I felt the urge to cut open a blood vessel, but quietly held it down. I remembered that Mio-san looked very serious when I talked about the maggots. She must have thought it was creepy, but so did I. While I was crying because nobody believed me, a part of me didn't want to believe that my body was filled with those creepy things. I think part of me wanted to believe that it was a delusion, but now I know it wasn't. It wasn't a delusion. There are some people who had the same experience. Maggots in the demon's blood will awaken when you lose the protection of Oyashiro-sama. In other words, they may not awaken under the protection of Oyashiro-sama. But all the villagers still had the maggots in them without knowing it. People of the demon's blood are people who have the creepy maggots in their bodies. I tried not to jump to conclusions, and I flipped the pages again. I unconsciously looked for something related to maggots. About parasites and control of the host. The maggot disease made me think about something. Is it possible to say that the extremely strong homesickness of Hinamizawa was an infectious disease caused by some kind of parasite? I'm not trying to connect the maggots they saw with parasites. I'm trying to think about the possibility that their culture, their religion, might be associated with an infectious disease. Many infectious diseases are caused unintentionally by parasites. A parasite's host is literally its home. It wants to live within the host's body for as long as it can. The best way to do that is to coexist with the host without the host knowing it. But some parasites try to control their hosts and use them for prosperity. For example, some parasites have an ability to control their host in order to force them to be eaten by a superior host. A typical example is the Dicrocolium dendriticum. It uses snails or ants as intermediate hosts, and it forces them to move to the upper side of vegetation so that it's easier for a superior host to consume it. One parasite that controls more complicated animals is called Toxoplasma gondii. It uses mice as intermediate hosts, with the superior hosts being cats. This parasite makes a mouse lose its fear of cats in order to increase its chance of getting eaten, so that the parasite can live within a cat instead. There are parasites that choose hosts at random. I've heard that most humans that have interacted with cats, or at least that have owned cats, are also infected with Toxoplasma gondii, and that it makes you like cats more, which is kind of creepy. Like, apparently a lot of people... I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that a lot of people are literally being mentally affected by parasites to like cats more. It's kind of creepy. Anyway. The rabies virus is commonly known for that. It lives and breeds in the brain of a host, and it moves into the host's saliva through the salivary glands. It makes the host extremely aggressive in order to make it bite things randomly, so that it in turn can move into other hosts through the saliva. That's what rabies does. Many parasites have a similar ability to control hosts to their benefit. The examples I used above are about parasites that move into other hosts to prosper. But I think there must be some kind of parasite that controls its hosts in order to have a comfortable environment in which to live. I want to try to connect this theory to the abnormal homing ability and homesickness of the Onigashima residents. Let's say that there's some kind of parasite that exists in Hinamizawa, and it lives within all of the villagers' bodies. For the parasite, Hinamizawa is the most comfortable environment to live in, so it gives the hosts a strong homing ability in order to make them stay in Hinamizawa. Furthermore, it causes the hosts to get homesick whenever they ignore this homing ability and try to leave. Parasites need hosts in which to live. It's convenient for them if their hosts build a community in the environment where it feels comfortable. That makes you feel uncomfortable having a cat around? Too late for you, probably. I'm sorry if this is how you found out. This theory makes it easier for me to explain the mysteries I described earlier. The transcendents of Onigashima knew about the existence of this parasite. They knew that as hosts to the parasite, they couldn't live outside of the village. That's why they created a culture and rules that prohibited contact with the outside world. It also explains why people acted so abnormal during the dam conflict. So the demons that came out of the swamp in the legend of Oyoshiro-sama can be interpreted as the mass spread of the parasite. The story about the demons attacking the villagers must be a metaphor for the behavior of the infected villagers who are controlled by the parasite. This theory is too crazy. I should have just laughed about it, but I felt bad for Mio-san, so I decided not to. Hinamizawa is controlled by a parasite? You could use that theory to explain how the maggots came out of me. I felt a little bit dizzy. I was so confused, and a part of me thought it was ridiculous, and another part of me thought it was more convincing than any curse. But Mio-san was probably erased because she wrote these scrapbooks. If so, the contents of these scrapbooks must be something that they can't ignore. They tried to get all of her scrapbooks and consign them to oblivion. What if they notice some of her scrapbooks are missing? I felt a chill running through my spine. I have to keep it a secret that I have these scrapbooks, and I'll have to try to understand more about their contents. I remember Mio-san told me that the three families are behind the series of mysterious deaths, and that they're trying to resurrect the cult of Oyoshiro-sama. According to the theory I just read, the parasite must be trying to maintain the current environment of Hinamizawa. The healthiest environment for it is a completely closed village, just like the primitive Onigashima. Kano's aunt dropping light flies will be fine. If it was more dangerous, it'd be one. Yeah, it's not dangerous. It just sits there and makes you like cats, so that you're more likely to spread it to more cats. I think. Again, I'm not 100% sure that's true. It must be very, very comfortable for the parasite if no hosts go outside the village. They don't even like that the villagers often leave the village to go shopping. That means the parasite would try to goad the hosts into resurrecting the cult of Oyoshiro-sama. I remember there was an article in the scrapbook saying that the demon's blood runs thickest in the three families. That would mean that they have a larger amount of the parasite in them than the other villagers, and that they're under its control. The three families seem to be planning to bring the village back to the Onigashima era. Reviving the Watanagashi festival after the dam conflict can be interpreted as their desire to revive the faith that has started to fade away in the Meiji era. The three families, especially the Sonozaki family, have a great influence over the region and the public organizations. What's going on here? I thought this to be a poorly written theory, but the pieces fit together one after another. I've never played a jigsaw puzzle as crazy as this. I felt my brain swirling due to this absurd theory. A part of me thought this was ridiculous, and another part of me thought I might be about to expose an unbelievable truth. When I tried to look into the center of it, I felt as if I was going to fall into the whirlpool and drown. I'll have to devote myself to reading more seriously. There must be some truth to this. It caused misfortune and made my life miserable after I moved to Ibaraki. I might be able to find the truth, including the cause of my parents' divorce and my desperate behavior. Right then, I heard a knock on the door all of a sudden, scaring me.
I hid the scrapbooks under a cushion.
Rena.
Rena, you have a phone call.
電
A
話
phone call?
こんな時間
Miss
に
Lane?
誰だろう
Who is it?
本屋さん
It's
から
from a bookstore.
本の
Did you order some
取り寄せと
books?
か頼んだの。沖宮
They
書
said
房
they
の
were Oishi-san
大石
from the
さんって人
Okinomiya
かな。
bookstore. I opened the windows, but all they let in was heat and the cries of the cicadas. It's too hot.
味ね
It really is. It was break time between classes, but we couldn't really get any rest. Mion and I leaned on our desks, exhausted by the heat. The younger kids sure are tough, considering how the heat wasn't bothering them at all. They were running around the classroom despite the temperature.
やっぱりさ
Do schools in the cities have air
都会の
conditioning in their
学校だと教
classrooms?
室にもクーラーとか入ってるわけ
No, they don't. Only the teacher's office gets to have air conditioning.
うわ
Wow.
それは
That's
羨
better
ま
than
しい
nothing.
ね生徒みん
If I
な
were
で
a student at a
職
school
員
like
室を
that, I'd ask to
襲って
attack the
占拠とかしない
teachers
の
and take over their office.
その辺の発想
You'd
が
be the first student ever to do that.
あ
I didn't even have the energy to laugh. Mion and I stopped talking and used our notebooks to fan ourselves. I looked at the empty seat nearby. It was Rena's. Rena didn't come to school today. She called and told Chie-sensei she couldn't come because she's sick.
レナのやつ
Rena seems to be feeling down these days.
だね
Yeah.
暑さにや
She
られた
probably
のか
got
も
tired
ね
from the heat.
なあ
Do you really think that's the
本気で
reason?
暑さでやられたと思う
そう思ってるけど
Yeah, why?
例の一件がさ
I think it's the incident.
かもね
Maybe.
それに暑さも加わ
It's
って
probably both that and the
夏バ
summer
テでも
heat.
起こしたんじゃないかな
I can't even imagine how distressing it was for her to commit a murder, dismember the bodies, and get caught by her friends. We took each other's hands at that place and we united. All of us believed that we had closed the case there and had regained our peace. But was that as easy for Rena as it was for us? She must have not quite recovered yet.
おじさんは
This little man thought she'd get over it if she played along with us.
そのうち元気になそこまで
But I guess her pain ran deeper than I
浅くな
thought.
かったってことかな
こういう時さ
What should we do?
どうしたら
To cheer
レ
her
ナを
up.
元気づけられるかな
多分
It's best just to leave her alone, I think.
おいおい
Hey, are you
そ
sure
んなの
about
でいいの
that?
かよ俺たち仲間
We're
だ
her
ぞ
friends, you know?
ほら
Well, it's like homesickness, you know?
あれもね
You get lonely and you want to call home just to hear your mom's voice.
実家
But
に
that
電話
actually
なん
just
か
makes your
かけちゃう
homesickness worse.
一気
No,
に
it doesn't.
故障
That's
し
how
ちゃう
you
し
cure it in Earthbound.
寂しい時は
When you're feeling lonely, the best thing to do is to devote yourself to sports or something like that for a
気
change.
分転換
気分転換
I
させ
want her
て
to
や
do
りたく
club
て
activities with us,
あ
but
いつ
she doesn't want
最近
to.
部活に加わらないし
レナはどうかし
I
ら
don't know about her,
人には
but people usually have a desire to depend on somebody.
そばに支え
You
て
want to
くれる
depend on
人
somebody
や
who supports you
同
and
情してくれる
sympathizes
人が
with
い
you.
ると慰めてくれる
Haven't
人
you
が
ever
現れて
experienced that
さ
feeling when you can't stop depending on somebody when they try to cheer you up?
うん
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know.
際限なく甘える
Completely depending on someone means trying to earn even deeper sympathy from them.
そうすると
At that point, even though you're trying to comfort them, they just slip further and further into depression.
慰められ
By
て
finding
もらえ
initial
る
success through relying on someone and receiving comfort, they grow addicted to indulging in misfortune.
レナも
Yeah.
その辺分かってるからわざと一人に
That's
なろう
not
として
wrong.
ない
I've been on the receiving end of somebody depending on me too much. It's not only bad for them. It's also bad for, well, I don't know. Yeah, it's bad for both people involved. I think Rena knows that too. That's why she wants to be alone right now.
慰めや
If she
甘え
wanted
が
to
目的
depend
だ
on
った
us or
ら
get comfort from us, all
私
she'd
た
have
ち
to
の
do
そ
is
ば
to stay
にい
with
て
us and
涙
cry
を
all
流
the
せば
time.
済むわけだし
じゃあ
So
落ち込んで
how
る
can
レ
we
ナを
cheer her up?
どう励ませばいいんだ
女の心
I
情
think
とし
she'd
て
appreciate it
は
more if you tried to help her forget her pain than if you tried to cheer her up.
忘れ
慰めるな
Don't
励ます
comfort her and don't cheer her
な
up.
んだよ
There's nothing I can
やるじ
do,
ゃない
is
か
there?
よ
慰めるな
That's a
励ます
golden
な
rule for
心
psychologists,
理カウンセラーの
did you know?
鉄則だ結局
Mental trauma can only be healed by the person who has it.
自分周りの人が
If
治した
someone else
と
helps
し
the
ても
person out of their mental trauma, even if they succeeded, that person wouldn't be completely healed. It's true to an extent. Therapists are always trying to get you to help yourself.
だから
So all we can do now is wait until Rena heals on her own.
私たち
理屈じゃ理解で
I
きるが
understand the idea, but
なんだか
I
吐き
just
そう
don't
な
like
気
how
がして
cold it sounds.
気になれねえな
I clasped my hands behind the back of my head, looking at the ceiling. Mion laughed.
それだけ
Rena
レ
will
ナ
be
のこと
fine
を
as long
心
as
配
she has
してく
someone
れる
like
ケ
you
イち
to
ゃんが
worry
身
about
近
her.
にいるなら立ち直れるよ
I'm sure she can pull herself together.
近くにいるだけ
So
で
all I need to do is to be close to her?
うさんくさいな
I don't know about that.
圭一にだって
There
で
is
き
something
る
you
こ
can
と
do,
があります
Keiichi.
ですよ
Rika-chan spoke up. I wonder how long she'd been listening to our conversation.
俺にもできることがある
What is it?
レナが
You
話し
can
たい
listen
と
to her
思
when
っ
she
た
wants to
時は
talk to somebody.
打ち明け
聞くだけでいいのか
Is that all?
励まさな
I
くていい
just
のか
listen and I don't need to make her feel better?
ケイちゃん
Kei-chan, people feel better just by talking to somebody.
静かに
Sometimes all they need is someone who does nothing but
何
listen
より
quietly.
苦しい時ってある
ミーの言う
Just
通り
like
なの
me
ですよ
said.
レナが話
I
した
think
い
it's
と思っ
important
た
for us
時
as her friends to be there
い
for
つ
her
で
when
も
if she
話
wants
し
to
か
talk
け
to
られる
somebody.
場所にいてあげるのもきっと
Mion
仲
and
間として
Rika-chan
大
were
切な
absolutely
ことな
right.
のだと思いま
I
す
was
で
going to
す
pat Rena on her shoulder and tell her to cheer up when I saw her next, but now I know that would have been one-sided on my part. Rena doesn't want to feel down herself. She wants to cheer up if at all possible. If I cheered her up irresponsibly, she'd be very disappointed because she'd think that I didn't understand her pain.
そうだな
You're right.
俺
I guess
ち
I
ょっ
wasn't
と
even
人
trying
の
to
心
understand
って
how
や
she
つを
felt.
レナを励
I
ましたい
wanted to
の
cheer
は
her up, but now I know that's
俺
just
の
what I
欲
want
求
to
で
do
あって
and what she wants
レ
me
ナ
to
の
do.
求めることじゃないありがとな
Thanks, you
二人
two.
とも俺ひょっとすると今日まで何か勘違いをし
I
て
think
た
I
かもしれ
finally
ないぜ
understand. On that day, I thought I cheered her up, but I started to doubt if I had reached her heart. I might have just been dragging her someplace where I wanted her to go. Sounds like you just called a vent? Yeah. I wasn't on her side in the real sense of the term. All of a sudden, Rika-chan patted my head.
圭一は一
Don't
番
worry.
それは
We all know that you're on her
疑わ
side.
なくて大丈夫なのです
What? What?
あ
Did I say something out loud
俺
again?
のこと口に出しちまってたのか
レナの心に
It
は
did
届い
reach
た
her
よ
heart.
ケイちゃんはあの日
Kei-chan, you really did give her great strength on that day.
いや
Wow, now that I think about it, what she said on that day was more than a little theatrical. We heard footsteps from the hallway, and everybody started to head back to their desks.
お待たせし
Take
ま
your
した
seats, everyone.
それではいいの
President, if you would.
ゴール起立
All rise. We didn't have a club meeting that day because the Rena wasn't around. That worked out for me, because I had an errand to run. It wasn't a big errand. My mom wanted me to use her point card to get some detergent. I didn't see the point of going all the way to the store just to get detergent, but my mom told me to go because she's busy helping my dad with his work. I started walking towards the shopping center. I noticed someone was watching me, hiding behind a distant tree. I wonder who would do such a mischievous thing. I stared at them to find out who it was, at which point they emerged. Oh, Rena. Are you feeling better now? I was about to say that, but I swallowed the words. Somehow, Rena looked very serious. What's going on? Shh. Rena put her index finger to her lips, told me to be quiet, and looked around carefully, and beckoned for me to come over. I had no idea what was going on, but I followed her instructions, shut my mouth, and ran to her. Rena gestured for me to squat down to hide in the shadow of the bush. I didn't know why I had to do that, but I could ask her the question later. I just followed her orders for now. Rena looked like she was making sure no one was following her. If it was Mion, she'd do something like this just to fool me as a joke, but I know Rena doesn't do things like this for fun. I had no idea what kind of situation I got myself into, but I could feel how tense it was, and I made myself as small as I could. Good.
もういいよ
It's okay now.
ごめんね
I'm sorry. The tone of her voice made me relax a little.
どうしたってんだよ
What's
一
going
体
on?
多分
I
私
think
誰かに最
someone has
近
been following me.
後をつけられているの
なんだって
What? Who would follow her? When I thought about it, I realized how stupid the question was. Is it the police? Rina Mamiya and Teppei Hojo. 2 people disappeared. Even though they were awful human beings, the police had to investigate if they found out that they'd gone missing. It probably wouldn't be difficult to find out that Rina had often been to Rena's house. But it should be okay. As long as they don't find those bags, it should be okay. I don't know if it's the police or not. But I feel like someone's been watching me since the night of Watanagashi. What do you mean? Once I asked that question, Rena stared directly at me with a blank expression. Her eyes looked as though they were evaluating me. She stared at me as if she was assessing whether I was worth talking to about something very important. Rena squeezed her own wrist tightly, then started talking in a whisper. I can tell you what's going on, but can you keep it a secret? Yeah, of course I can. If you want me to keep it secret, I won't tell anybody. Okay. I trust you. She smiled and looked around one more time. They might be looking for Mio-san's scrapbooks. Mio-san? Oh, the nurse, Takano-san? What about her scrapbooks? The police are keeping the investigation under wraps, so I'm sure you don't know. Mio Takano-san was murdered. What? What? When? She told me to be quiet again. I lowered my voice and let her continue. On the night of Watanagashi, we met Mio-san and Tomitake-san, didn't we? They were attacked right after that. Tomitake-san was cursed by Oyashiro-sama. He clawed out his throat and died. Mio-san was burned to death in the mountains of the Gifu prefecture. Is that true? I mean, nobody told me about that. I know. That's because the police haven't disclosed their investigation. These cases make the 5th of the series of mysterious deaths. So the police have decided not to go public yet. I see. I understand why the police are keeping quiet about it. But then, where did you hear this? Can you keep it a secret? I've been in contact with Oishi-san. He is a detective from the Okinomiya Police Department. He told me about the case. Why did he tell you? I don't know. He said he told me because he could trust me. I was dumbfounded to hear all this, but I knew she wasn't lying. If it was Mion, she'd be sticking her tongue out by now, but Rena wouldn't make a joke out of something like this. I think the reason why Mio-san was murdered is because of her research. Do you know she was doing ethnological research by studying the history of this village? I've heard something along those lines. Takano-san was interested in the occult and in mysterious things. I remember Mio once told me that she was studying the village's legends of man-eating demons out of curiosity. I think she discovered a very important secret about this village through her studies. Or maybe she wasn't even close to the truth, but they thought she was. Wait a second. What's the secret of this village you're talking about? I just read a few of her scrapbooks, but those were the ones that she was handling with extra caution, so I think there are pretty important things written in them. I think I know about 80% of what Mio-san was trying to uncover, but if it's true, it's almost too crazy to believe. Right now, I'm trying to find out whether Mio-san's theory is right or not. So, what is it? What's the secret of this village? What could be so important that you might get killed just by knowing about it? I gasped the moment those words left my mouth. If Rena told me, I might get killed too. I don't want to tell you yet, but I promise I will once I verify things. Because it's really crazy. Too crazy to be true. What do you mean you have to verify things? For example, I myself serve as verification that the maggot disease can occur without any background knowledge. But there are a lot of things I still need to verify. They sound too crazy to be true, and I can hardly believe them if I don't verify that they are. Maggots? I was totally lost now, and I wanted to ask her some questions, but I decided not to cut in. It was so hot outside. But Rena held her arms as if she was cold. Rena, I'm always on your side. You can trust me. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
From her expression alone, I could tell that she really meant it. I could also tell that she was involved in something very big, and that she felt lonely because she couldn't tell anybody else about it. I had to be on her side while she was going through a difficult time.
私とね、
You shouldn't tell
今
anybody
日こ
that
こ
you
で
met
出
me
会っ
here
たこと
today.
は内緒にした方がいいと思う。私と
They
接
might
触
try
が
to
あったこ
hurt
と
you
か
if they
知られ
found
た
out.
ら、
わかった
Okay.
俺に何か協力できることはないのかよ
Isn't there anything I can do to help?
今はない。
Not right now.
でも、
But it's
協
very
力を
reassuring
お
that I
願い
can
で
ask
き
you
る
for
ことが
help when I
分か
need
っただ
it.
けで、今の私、最後には
I'll depend on you
頼らず
someday.
お
Yeah.
任せとけ
Anytime.
し
Shh.
車が来る。
The car's coming. Then I pushed my head into the bush. I went along with it and crouched down even lower in the bushes. We stayed quiet for a while. I could hear a car coming closer, and after a while a white van passed by. I was surprised at her hearing. She heard the car coming when it was still far off in the distance.
今の車、
Did you see its license plate number?
え
What?
いやごめん
No, I'm sorry.
見えなかった
I didn't.
私もちょ
I
っと
couldn't
見えな
either,
か
but
っ
I
たけ
think
ど
it's the same car I saw earlier.
さっきと同じナンバーの車だと思うの。
その
Are they the
レ
ones
ナを
following
尾
you?
行している
多分
I think so.
普段
It
車なん
passed
か
me
通らな
by
い
me
道
many
で
times today on the
今日は
street
何
where
度も
nobody
追い
usually
上げられるの。
drives.
その度に
I hit every time.
私は隠れて
But
やり過ご
it's
しているから
strange.
ね。
そいつらな
Are
の
they
か
the ones?
高野さんたち
Are
を
they the ones
殺し
who killed Takano-san and
レナが持
Tomitake-san?
ってるスクラップ
Are
帳を
they
狙って
looking
い
for
る
the
という
scrapbooks you
連中は
have?
多分
Most likely, yes. I don't blame her for not being able to believe what's going on, because this is really crazy. Takano-san uncovered something really significant through her studies. The people who want that information hidden found out about it, and they killed her on the night of Watanagashi, copying the curse of Yoshiro-sama. They're looking for the scrapbooks, the fruits of her research, and the Rena has them. That's why they're trying to kill Rena?
じゃあ
What about your
レナの
house?
家が危ないってことはないのか
大丈夫。
It's safe there.
スクラップ帳
I
は
hid the scrapbooks
ゴ
in my
ミ山
secret
の
hideout
私
at
の
the
隠れ
garbage
家に
dump.
隠してある。お父さんが不
I'm
安
worried
だけど
about my father,
何
but
も
he'll
知
be
らない
fine
から
because
こ
he
そ
really doesn't know
何も
anything.
危害が及ばないかもしれない。圭一君が
It's
言わ
written
な
on
く
your
ても
face,
顔
Keiichi-kun.
に書いてあるよ。突拍子も
It
ない
says,
話
I
で
can't believe it because it
とても
sounds too
信
crazy
じら
to
れ
be
ない
true.
でしょ
Am I right? I wanted to deny it, but I felt bad to lie. I remained silent in the affirmative.
それが当然
Well,
の反
that's a
応。
normal reaction.
私
Wanna
だ
just
って
burn the books?
ミオさんのスクラップ帳を読み始めた最初は
Because Rena
なんだ
doesn't
こりゃっ
want...
て思って
Because,
全
I
然
guess
信
because
じら
if...
れなかったもの。
I don't know. I guess because Rena wants to get the information... Wants to expose the information and doesn't want to rely on just keeping it in her memory. And if she dies, then the information will be completely gone, is the idea, I guess. I couldn't believe any of it when I read the first scrapbook.
全てに
I
目を
finally
通し
started seeing the connections after
ようや
reading
く
all of
何か
them.
の筋が見えてきたんだもん。
すまん
I'm sorry.
もちろん
I do want to
レナ
help you,
でも
but I just don't know how if I don't see the whole picture of what's
ど
going
う
on.
助けてやればいいかわかんないんだ
話せば
If I tell you, I might
圭
put
一
you in
君の身に
danger.
も危険が。
レナにはすでに
You're already in
かかってる
danger, right?
ならお
I
相手
don't mind. Don't worry about me.
わかった。
Okay,
話す。
I'll tell you then.
多分
It's probably the three
Mio-san
families who killed Mio-san and Tomitake-san.
ひなみざわ御三家。もっとはっき
To
り
be
言っ
more
てしまえば
specific, it's the Sonozaki
みーちゃん
family,
の家である
Mi-chan's family.
その先本家。
どうして
Why?
圭一君も
You know about the series
過
of
去の
mysterious
連続
deaths,
開始
right?
事件は
あ
Of course.
ダム戦
The
争
traitors of the dam conflict die every year, right?
この連続
The
開
series
始
of
事件
mysterious deaths is like
ダム戦争
a resolution of the
の
dam
戦争の
conflict.
村の裏
They're
切り
trying to
者
end the
を
dam
片付け
conflict in the truest sense of the term
本当の
by
意味で
erasing people who betrayed the village.
確かに
It does
そう
look like
見えな
that
い
in a
こと
way.
誰もが
Nobody really says it out
は
loud,
っき
but
りと
everybody
口
is
にはし
suspicious that the
ない
Sonozaki family is behind
一つは大気の
it.
仕業だと疑って
That's what I've heard.
みたいな話は
でも
But if they really wanted to erase the traitors, they wouldn't have to do it on the night of
渡辺の
Watanagashi.
こだわらなくて毎年
Why don't they kill them all at once instead of killing them one by one, using the curse and demoning them away
すご
every
いペー
year?
スで殺すそうでしょ
Wouldn't that make more sense? I had never heard the words demoning away before, but Rena clearly thought they have some creepy, significant meaning, so I decided not to cut in.
つまり
That means that they're using the series of mysterious deaths in order to resurrect the sacredness of the Watanagashi festival.
もっと踏み込んで言うと
If she publishes them, it should be done for sure.
失われた鬼ヶ淵村の神聖性を取り戻すための
Uh,
段階的イベント
I don't know.
She can do it secretly. I don't know.
Step by step, they're reviving the sacred nature of Onigafuchi that was lost in the Meiji era. Their goal is to revive the level of belief in Oyashiro-sama that used to exist in primitive times.
原理的な
Oyashiro-sama Shinko.
Believe in Oyashiro-sama.
Furude Jinja no
Are you talking about the Furude Shrine?
そう
Yes.
フルデ神
Do you
社
think people revere the
崇め
Furude
られた
Shrine now?
お年寄りの
Elder
人は
people
敬
respect
って
the shrine,
いる
but that's it.
子供たちは
Kids think of it as a place to play, and most of the villagers think of it as a place to gather for
ほとん
local
ど
events.
その神聖
Its
性を
sacredness has
失わ
been
れ
lost.
それが
But with the
大
dam
戦争
conflict, it
を
started
叫
to
ぶ
revive,
彼らはそれを
and they took it as a good opportunity to bring back the cult of Oyashiro-sama.
いい
ってことは
So you're saying that some fanatical Oyashiro-sama worshippers are behind all this?
そういうこと
That's what I'm saying.
そもそも
The cult of Oyashiro-sama was managed by the three families to begin with.
だから御三家には現代にも脈々
The
と
three families passed down their ultimate goal of reviving the cult of Oyashiro-sama down to the present generation.
それを思えば
When you think about it, you'll understand why the three families took the initiative in uniting the villagers during the dam conflict, and why they set up the Onigafuchi Guardian's office in the Furude Shrine, citing Oyashiro-sama, who was almost forgotten at the time.
じゃあ
So the three families, I mean, the fanatical Oyashiro-sama worshippers, orchestrated the series of the mysterious deaths of Hinamizawa. But wait, why would they kill Takano-san?
それは
Because she discovered the important secret of this village. The three families have been hiding it since the era of Onigafuchi. If that secret is revealed, the sacredness of Oyashiro-sama will be lost. They found out that Mio-san was getting close to the secret, and that's why they killed her.
その
What's this important secret?
それを知ると俺も
I don't care if I put myself in danger. I need to know.
だから
I don't want to
そ
tell
れ
you
はま
yet.
だ私自身
I don't want to tell you until I'm 100% sure about it.
多分
I'm pretty sure that right now you just laugh.
おいおい
Hey, do you think I'm that kind of guy?
見えるかよ
もう少し
I just need a
時間
little
が
more
欲しい
time.
あまりの事
I
実
can't accept the truth myself because it sounds so
受け入
impossible.
れだからもう
So I need
少し
some
時間
time.
を欲しお願い
Please.
わかった
I understand.
今日ここで話
Don't
したこ
tell
とは
anybody about what we
誰
talked
にも
about
喋っちゃ
today.
ダメだよみーちゃんと
Not
リカ
even
ちゃん
Mi-chan,
も
Rika-chan,
ち
or
ろん
Satoko-chan.
さと
わかった
Okay.
じゃあ
Well,
形
you should
式
go
はもう
now.
いい私はも
I'll
う
take a
少
look
し
around for a while before I
辺り
go
にかか
home.
ってから行く用心に過
I
ぎる
can't be too
ということ
careful
はないから
anymore. Then I ducked low in the bushes and moved away. I was left alone there. The cries of the cicadas surrounded around me, making it seem as if I was alone there the whole time. I started walking, still dumbfounded. In the end, Rena didn't tell me the secret because she was afraid of putting me in danger, but she told me clearly that there are people who want to resurrect the cult of Oyashiro-sama, and that they're among the three families that control the entire village. They orchestrated the series of mysterious deaths for that purpose, and they killed Takano-san because she got too close to the secret they wanted to hide. Rena met Takano-san and happened to obtain the scrapbooks in which Takano-san wrote about her research. Rena still can't believe the secret written in the scrapbooks because it's just too crazy. Hey, come on, Rena. You're kidding me, right? It's like one of those comic book stories. A mysterious occult group is plotting a conspiracy? I mean, it's not funny even if it's a joke. But Rena is right about one thing. Even if this is true, it's really hard to believe. I understand why Rena wanted to wait to tell me the secret. Maybe she was just fooled by Takano-san. But Takano-san was murdered for real. So is it also true that someone is following Rena, looking for the scrapbooks? I remember. Rena said that a white van was following her. You can see white vans anywhere. I bet there are a lot in this village alone. She might just be oversensitive to everything right now. Rena hasn't recovered from the shock since that day. That's probably why she got the idea into her head that the police or someone else is coming after her. I didn't cut in while she was talking. I think I did the right thing. If I had said that it was ridiculous or something to her face, Rena wouldn't have trusted me ever again. At that point, however, I gasped. A white van was parked on the side of the street. I wasn't sure if this was the same car that passed by earlier since I didn't see the plate number, but the number of people in the car and the ambiance of it was similar to the one earlier. And there's one other thing that looked suspicious about it. There was no reason to park here. It was on a small road in the middle of the woods. There's nothing around here. No traffic lights, no vending machines, and no public phones. I probably wouldn't notice it under ordinary circumstances, but I felt something was wrong. And once I noticed how odd it was definitely suspicious. There were 4 men in work uniforms in the white van. The driver was smoking a cigarette, but the other men were just sitting there doing nothing. If they wanted to take a break or have a smoke, they could have chosen a better place than here. It was possible that they stopped because they had to go to the bathroom really badly, but it didn't seem that way either. They didn't look as comfortable or relaxed like they would if they were taking a break. They looked like they were waiting for something to happen. There was a deep tension in that car. Could they possibly be waiting for Rena? No way. I didn't see anybody walking around here. This road is a back road. Nobody really uses this road, let alone by car. But it's impossible. I felt bad for Rena to even think about it, but this must be something that she got into her head because she's feeling victimized or something. She must be imagining things because she's still nervous from when her friends caught her in the act of killing Rina and Teppei. Hey, young man. I heard someone say that when I passed by the van. He couldn't mean me. He didn't even know who I was. So I assumed he was talking to one of the other people in the car. I pretended I didn't hear him and I kept walking by, and then he said it again, and honked the horn as well. Hey, young man, excuse me. Are you on your way home from school? He had a strong accent, similar to that of the older villagers. He must live here, but I didn't know him. I could tell he didn't know me either, because he didn't call me by name.
Hi.
Yes, I am. You've been walking on this road all the way from school, right? You turned the corner where the stationery store is, right? Yes. So? They were probably lost, I thought. This village has many small turns, and you can easily get lost when you try to take a shortcut, so they must have been waiting for someone to ask for directions. But then he said something disturbing. Young man, didn't you see a girl on the way here? What? A girl with a white hat and white clothes, with a purple ribbon on it. Did you see her? They were definitely talking about Rena. No, I didn't. I wasn't ready to hear them ask that. Rather, I was scared. That's why my voice got all shaky. Up until that point, I couldn't believe Rena's story. I thought it was ridiculous. I actually laughed, if only to myself. That's why I wasn't ready at all. My heart was beating fast, and I was sweating all over. I immediately answered, no, I didn't, but it might have sounded like an obvious lie. The driver stared into my eyes. He looked like he was trying to figure out if I was lying or not, and my legs started to shake. I felt like a frog under the glare of a snake, and I couldn't move a muscle for a while. But I think the same went for those men, too. They were clearly a suspicious group, and they had just asked a villager about a girl out of the blue. Anybody would get suspicious. And I was right. The man broke the ice and started making excuses before I even asked him why he wanted to know about the girl. Well, I was asking for no particular reason. We just passed by a girl earlier, but you're a boy, so we were just wondering. Oh, okay. Please forget it. Sorry for the trouble, young man. We're off. The man started the engine and drove away. After they left, I saw nothing. That's right. Nothing. There was no reason why they had to park here. So, were they really waiting for Rena? Spooky. New tips unlocked. Lunch takeout list 2. And achievement unlocked. Mystery machine. Let's read the new tips. And I think I'm going to be done here. It's been kind of a short stream, but I'm getting tired, and I need to do some final things related to a work project to make sure it's ready for tomorrow. Basically just merging some branches on GitHub, but anyway. Furthermore, it's important that we closely monitor her father. Since he has also suffered mental shock from the divorce and has been trying hard to take care of the patient, there's a strong possibility that he may develop an induced delusional disorder. As the first step of mental care, one should listen to the patient's story carefully without denying it. That's the most basic of basics. However, when the patient and the listener are related, it's easy for the listener to become deeply influenced by the patient's delusions. Additionally, delusional parasitosis is widely known to make people highly impressionable, and the influence sometimes can spread throughout a whole community. Therefore, even if several people claim to acquire a parasitic infection, it doesn't necessarily prove the existence of a parasite. Some of the phone calls to the healthcare centers for the extermination of pests are nothing but a mass delusion. Since the subject matter of the delusion in this case is extremely rabid, the patients might harm or even kill each other in abnormal ways, believing this to be the treatment for the disease. They might also give up hope and commit suicide together in the worst case. This influential delusional disorder, otherwise known as shared psychotic disorder, shows a particularly strong possibility of influencing close companions. Anyone who is going to contact the patients must be made to understand that the patients are under medical treatment and must be warned not to be influenced by the patient's delusions. Individuals who are likely to be easily influenced are the patient's family members and people who deeply care about the patients, such as boyfriends or girlfriends. Turns out Keiichi talked to himself again, so he was like, are they talking about Rena? No, I haven't seen anyone. Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. Keiichi's really bad at keeping stuff to himself. Anyway, that was a short stream. I assume I'll probably be able to do another one. Josh usually gets at least one late shift per week. But yeah, I'm going to go do the stuff I said. Thanks for coming along. See you for... there might not be an Ape Escape tomorrow because I don't have one ready yet. But I'll get one out as soon as I can. I'll try to do 2 this week. Or at least, you know, like an hour's worth. Even if it ends up being one video. We'll see. And also crosswords, obviously. More Higurashi if I can. More streams if I can. Yeah. The usual. See you guys then. Goodbye.